Jabba, come on, and touching his, you know, like his belly. He's like, oh, oh.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode, I guess episode 1 and 2 review of Ahsoka. But you know, I thought we'd bust out the Cantina Conversations opening because we did Rebels. You can go back, check every episode. We reviewed all 4 seasons. But as of right now, it's just me and Taylor. You know, lots of stuff's going on. And Taylor's going to introduce himself in a second. Curtin says he might join at some point, but you know, he's moving. His house is on the edge of a fire. So he's like, you know what? I don't think he has the bandwidth, but we're here. No Dylan. No Kirkland, but the Cantina voice stands strong. And, you know, maybe they'll appear every once in a while, but I guess I'm just the rebel. That was left over from side quest, but you know what? It still fits. I'll just go with the rebel. Travis Snell, and I'm joined by...
The Apple of Eden, Taylor Field.
The Apple of Eden. I don't know. Maybe I'm... Oh, okay.
You'll know it. You'll know it.
Yeah, I guess I know it. But yes, we are here to talk about... And look at this. We're talking about an episode at 8 p.m. Sorry, a little later. Tim missed a little later, but that's okay. You gonna be ready next week? Next week for the
Now
like,
I know
7?
we're gonna be going live before 8. So
every time Game of Thrones, Dexter, Obi-Wan, when that happened, every time it's been like boom. Like we just recently because Kirkland started, and it doesn't even make sense. Kirkland, though, finally a midnight episode that's not he could review it. You know, it's fine. It's all good. That's why there's 4 of us. Luckily, we can spread thin, you know. Don't want to be like butter scraped over too much bread. You know, we got lots of bread, lots of butter. But, yeah, so we will be here. That's the schedule change. As we said, going forward, hopefully they do this for all the other MCU and DCU, or not DCU, that's something different, MCU and Star Wars shows. That'd be great. And that's the idea. So get used to it. Most of the time, we used to do midnights, or then after it'd be the next day around 8 p.m. We're going to be going live as soon as possible. Obviously, sometimes there might be some bump in the roads. Someone's car battery might die, something like that. But we will be going live when we can to talk about Ahsoka for the next 7 weeks because we got episode 1 and 2 to talk about here tonight. And yeah, so we'll give our overall thoughts, non-spoilers. Luckily, I see in our Discord a lot of people are already watching it. And that's the great thing about it dropping at 6 p.m. PST and 9 p.m. EST. You know, you get to talk about it together. It's not like this spaced apart thing where it's like, oh, I got to see it after work. So I think just overall, and we haven't even talked about this, not even like in a newscast or anything. I think it's just a great idea. I think the same way when you have like Last of Us, there's another one we reviewed right away. Last of Us, Game of Thrones, like when you have that appointment television when everyone can watch, if they want to at the same time and talk about it, I think it's a lot more exciting that way. So I hope they stick to it, and I think that could help with even Disney Plus subs. You feel like you're missing out if everyone's watching this show, and I don't know. I understood why they did the midnight stuff because it's like, oh, right, you could watch it anytime the next day, but there'd be hype, and we definitely had some big episodes. I remember, I think it was like the Loki finale, and I think the Quicksilver one. There were some Dexter episodes too that if it was a big episode, it still would do really, really well live, but it's always tough and whatnot. So I'm very excited by the change. I'm excited to hopefully them continue this, and hopefully it works out and they like it. But Taylor, what do you feel about this change? And also, what do you just feel about these episodes in a non-spoiler fashion?
Oh, I personally love the change. It's great. I got home. I'm off work. I'm at home by 5 o'clock, making dinner. 5:55 rolls around. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, my thoughts, non-spoilers, this is my favorite show, favorite Star Wars show that I have seen. Like I am just.
We're only 2 episodes in,
and I love everything. I really.
So
really
it's
do.
better than Mandalorian already.
Yeah.
It's better than Clone Wars.
Live action show.
Oh, that's that is the most hot take ever. That's better than anything. What if the 3rd episode's just trash?
I mean, I know what we're going towards from what they've kind of instilled in these first 2 episodes, and I think it's great. Like I'm hot and heavy for this. It's wonderful. I think the characters are delivered wonderfully. I think that the actors that are portraying these characters are doing a absolutely wonderful job. I 100% see the line that's drawn where if you haven't seen Rebels, you're going to have difficulty trying to really connect some of the dots maybe with like these pre-existing relationships. I can see where that becomes an issue. But the music, the way that first episode started off, and we'll talk about that, I was like, holy shit, like, oh, like just freaking out, like this is different. That was the biggest thing. This felt so different from the previous shows. The score felt really different. I felt like I was watching a Star Wars movie divided into multiple parts. Yeah, I think it was really, really well done. I got so many questions, so many things that I'm just really excited to learn about in this new narrative. And yeah, I just think that they did a pretty good job at trying to not overshadow these pre-existing characters' relationships. Like, again, like I said, if you watch Rebels, you're going to know a lot more going into this show. But you can still go into this show and you can kind of pick up, because they might blatantly kind of lay it down like, hey, this character with this character and this and so forth, this backstory. And so you can kind of follow along. And I think that it's great that these first 2 episodes, I'd say, serve as that catch up for people that haven't watched Rebels, more or less like the general audience to try and get in there. So I think that's out of the way, that's over and done with. And now moving into the main story, now we picked it up in this narrative, I think it's going to be really just good stuff coming up, because we've got 6 episodes now, and like I just can't wait for what we get into. I feel like the quality of things, like they're not holding back, they're pulling all their aces from different parts of Star Wars, and yeah, I'm so into this show. This is legendary. It's fantastic.
Legendary. Wow. Okay, well, let's bring down the room here for a second. I'm not going to go that far. Yeah, so you like it a lot. The Discord seems to be liking it a lot too. That's great. I don't dislike it. I don't have that same fever that you do right now. I need to see a bit more. I think that I'm kind of 2 minds when people did the whole like, oh, hey, you won't be able to follow it if you haven't seen Rebels. I agree to a point, but I think that they throw enough exposition at, like, I think the first 2 episodes are just very exposition heavy, so they catch you up on that, and that's what I'm interested to see more 3, 4, and 4, because I know a lot of the stuff. It's fresh. We just watched it, right? And it's a lot of retelling, like, oh, this is this motivation. That's great. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that we've seen in most of the trailers that are in these earlier ones. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's slower paced, and that's not a bad thing, because Andor was slower paced, and that was, the best Disney Plus Star Wars show. You could argue best Disney Plus show, maybe, right? I'd say it's between that and Loki. So it's not necessarily that. I just don't have a hook yet, other than, of course, Taylor's hook is like, I wonder if, again, Thrawn wasn't, in this show at some point, if it would be as, big. But it's so far, the plot is a lot of, like, the MacGuffin is just a lot of, we got to get to here before something bad happens, right? And that's fine, but I feel like I don't feel that pressure yet. I really like the actress they chose for Sabine. I think she's the standout of the show. The Rosario Dawson's good, but I don't feel like she doesn't do much in these first 2 episodes. She's good, but she's just like a clean slate. Like, there's not anything emotional or anything like that yet. So Hera's good. I'm waiting to see. Felt like Mary Elizabeth Winstead had to be on location a lot, because there's a lot of, this is a mini spoiler, but a lot of her in a hologram. So yeah, I like the pace. I don't know. There's just something where I didn't. So it's funny, because we were talking about that, right? And one of the Kirkland said he was busy, but one of the other reasons he was like, "Oh, I'm just not as interested in it." I think that's where I am. Where I couldn't tell Kirkland, like, you gotta watch this, and I don't think this was bad. Not at all. Don't get me wrong. So far it's like, it's a good setup, but I think it definitely hasn't hooked me like other Disney Plus shows. And I think it's interesting, because usually the Disney Plus shows, how they go is like episode 1 or 2 their best, and then the middle kind of gets a little murky, and then a lot of times they drop off, right? Barring a few, Andor and Loki being 2 specific ones, I think, for sure. Mando season 2, that'd be another one. You could argue maybe, I don't know what else for Disney, for Marvel. Most of those for now are kind of tough. So yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's just because these first 2 episodes are just, like I said, they're laying the groundwork. I didn't see the same thing like you're talking about, that opening. I think that was cool, but there's also something about it that felt like, a little like low budget Star Wars. It was weird just the way they like had the font centered and stuff. So yeah, I'm waiting. The villains right now, it's not a spoiler, that character Borgin is back, that like Dathomir witch. I'm not really digging her. She's very kind of generic. And I also don't get people saying it feels like a Rebels episode. I disagree with that. There's a few of them, but I don't think these feel like Rebels episodes. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I just feel like Rebels episode had a pacing to them. They at times had a bit more charm. They're a bit more adventurous. I don't think this is like adventurous. I think there's things going on that, have adventure in them. I know that sounds dumb to say, but I don't think it's that like almost more family friendly esque. It's more like the darker episode. So I as we just watched the whole series, I felt like this is something on its own. It's like a spiritual successor to Rebel, but other than maybe a few instances, I didn't feel like it was, this is right out of Rebels. So, like I said, I liked it, and maybe as we talk about more, I'll be more convinced or unconvinced once I hear more Taylor's points. But I just don't know, like, I'm waiting for the hook to get me more interesting. And I guess it's always that tough thing, right? Of they're talking about these things that could happen. And you know me, I'm a broken record. Like none of these things are going to happen because it's a prequel, like that's the thing where I guess that's the tough part where
these things can still happen. They just don't talk about it in the sequel stuff, right?
Well, then they're not that important, like I get it, but it's like, it doesn't really matter. Then they were Andor. That was my pitch, right? As I always said, why am I going to care about this? It was hard for me to care about Rogue One, but Andor, I'd say like the dialogue, Ryan's phenomenal. I think the dialogue here is fine. It's a lot of exposition. It's a lot of, here we go, and I used to be a master. And now it's a lot of stuff we've known and heard before. And I think even with Andor, the twists in those shows were like, man, that's really well done. These are very like mainstream action twists of like, oh, a droid popped out from this shadow to grab Ahsoka. Like, so far I haven't seen anything above Andor for sure. And I even think like the Obi-Wan premiere, the 1 and 2, were way more emotional, way more better than this. So right now I think the premieres are probably, even Mandalorian, I think I'd put Mando 1 up above this one. So I think I'm middle of the road, still good. I think it still has potential. I do like how serious they're talking about it. My favorite thing, what you said, is the score. I'm very happy for Kevin Kleiner because he did Clone Wars and Rebels, and he did another Star Wars thing I think we were talking about, right, a couple of weeks ago. But either way, it's very cool for Filoni and company to do this, but Kevin Kleiner, the score definitely was the highlight for me, I think. I really, really enjoyed all that because I feel like it's this perfect mix of you have some OG Star Wars in there, you have some Rebels in there, and then something new. Even like the end credit stuff is really well done. So that's a big standout. So Kevin Kleiner, I'm really got my fingers crossed that he's going to do the movie of this. If we have to do the Hair of the Empire, whatever it's going to be, let's see. So yeah, Pickens, you should wait. I don't know. It's up to you. We're going to dive spoilers in a second here. So overall, if you're a fan of Star Wars and Rebels, then yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think it's more like if you weren't interested or you're kind of in the middle, I think you could wait a few more episodes. But I think if you're a Star Wars fan, yeah, there's stuff there. You got lightsaber fights, you got blasters, you got some droids, you got some Sith that are not going to say they're Sith, but they're Sith. And we're going to talk about that because I'm with people of like, I hate what they're doing with these lightsabers. Like, this is like before we get into spoilers, and people, so we'll give you a quick break here in 2 minutes and then we'll get into it. But they don't say in either episodes that these are supposed to be red. Do you think they're supposed to be red lightsabers? Because they look orange.
No, well, we've talked about that before. Yeah, they're orange. They didn't make their crystals bleed. They're not acting like dark side users, like kill them all and all that kind of stuff. The way they talk and do stuff, they're very different. I think that's where, like, we'll get into it, but that's where you see, like, Haiti is very different from Skull in that sense. And it's like, there's a lot of dynamic going on there.
Okay. I hope so. I still think the lightsabers in general, I get that it's probably easier for the actors. I don't like that they look they look a little stagnant. I don't think they look as like, so as long as they never say they're red, that's fine. Because to me, the coloring looks sometimes off, but that's about it. You got lots of stuff here. So we're going to take a ad break. And then right now after we'll get into spoilers. So we will be right back. And we are back. So, and usual, head down links for everything you need to know, where to find us on video, audio, how to support us on Patreon. If you like what we do here, you get this episode and many others ad-free. Get episodes early. Next week, we'll be recording 2 exclusive episodes for Patreon. I'm sure there'll be an After 9 coming up somewhere along the line, somewhere in this Baron of Kelowna. But yeah, look out for that. Actually, some people got a little more sneak peek of our film the last night. I posted a little something there, so that's always go there. And yeah, me and Dylan just broke down Gamescom. Was it disappointing? Was it not? Who knows? And then Taylor Field, where can they find us on the social medias?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us in your connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Yeah. So I guess we start with the opening.
No. I know exactly where I want to start. We were talking about our predictions on Rebels. I was like, you know what, maybe Clancy Brown, and holy shit, the man is just, he's there.
Awesome.
I heard that voice. I was like, no freaking way. They brought back the Prime Minister Lethal, Mr. Clancy Brown. He's in everything Star Wars.
I was like, oh shit, and Gwen was like, what? I'm like, you won't understand. like she knows the character, but she's not going to remember that he's the governor. But yeah, so that is what you got. Mark Hamill. Couple other voices. There's a rare class of people that have played two characters in Star Wars. Now Clancy Brown is one of them. And I guess he already did with the voice, but I mean in live action. So yeah, good for Clancy Brown. That was fun there. So that's what I wanted to start with. So you feel like you're in the camp where if people haven't seen Rebels, they'd be lost on this, or it'd be a little hard to get into?
No. I think that it's a little bit more accelerated for them having not seen Rebels than to see you have Hera dropping like Ezra, like, oh, maybe she has to find Ezra and stuff like that. And people are like, okay, who's Ezra? What's going on here? And they're like, oh, this is Ezra's lightsaber. What's all this stuff?
But you can say that the same thing about A New Hope with Obi-Wan, right? He's kind of that MacGuffin for the first half where like you got to find Obi-Wan when Leia sends that message, right? So it's kind of similar if you haven't seen the show. It's like Ezra's a MacGuffin Jedi they got to find.
Yeah, that's very true. But then that also sets up like Thrawn being banished, and you have him in question.
There's a lot of exposition with Thrawn.
Yeah. That aside, like obviously we don't touch upon Zeb at all, which is totally fine. Like people aren't even gonna know Zeb in The Mandalorian. Like the general audience, at least, they're not gonna know who that is. You don't even see Chopper till episode 2, and yeah, I mean the way he comes on, I love Chopper. He's fantastic, but I also can sense like okay, like the way he's kind of like acting out and stuff like that. Maybe people might be kind of, I don't know, indifferent about it. They're like, oh, what's this droid with the little arms and how he's just super like hyperactive? Like maybe people just think it's just another droid. They tried touching upon a little bit of humor, which is good, but I just think that them trying to figure out like, oh, Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship and how Sabine was her Padawan. I think this is cool because that is something new that not even people that watch Rebels are going to be like able to really comprehend. So there's that new dynamic and these new things that even the Rebel fan base is not familiar with in their narratives. It's going to be overshadowed, if that makes sense. The things that we're familiar with, the familiarity of these connections and relationships will be overshadowed by the new stuff that was not present after the events of season 4.
Because there's some stuff that we're not even familiar with because it's happening. Like I agree with Thrawn. There's a lot of, oh, well, he used to be this, and if he comes back, the war could be that. Like, there's a lot of, okay, who is this guy? But I feel like the Ahsoka Sabine thing, we don't even know them. That's just, okay, they were master apprentice, they broke off. Okay, that's known. They talk about the battle of like Lothal a bunch of times, but like, they talked about the Clone Wars a bunch of time in New Hope, right? Like, I feel like most of the terms they were shouting out or whatnot could be generic enough that you can read in between the lines and get it. I think Thrawn and the Empire, that is a little bit more, okay, they're going to need some exposition. And Hera, there's like, I'm surprised we didn't even get like a Kanan reference here at all. I thought multiple times when she was talking to Ahsoka about being a master, being a Jedi, that there'd be something, because she's like, oh, I get it. I thought there'd be some sort of line. So that's what I feel like they are, and that could come later. But I thought there'd be a lot more of it, what people are saying. So I feel like it's easy enough. But yeah, we can just start there where we open up. And well, I guess the opening's the bad guys, but we'll save the bad guys. We'll just start with Ahsoka and Sabine. So she does this, little kind of, Indiana Jones, very Jedi Fallen Order Survivor-esque, trying to get some sort of, what is the name of this thing? Oh, right. That's why you're calling Apple Assassin's Creed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like this ball, and I agree with people. I can't remember. I'll look while you're talking. When they do open it up, it does look a lot like that KOTOR map, especially at one point there's like a laser that shoots to a map or a part of the map. It's like this feels very Knights Old Republic. But yeah, I like that opening of she's at clearly like an old Jedi temple or something like that. Or no, it was the Dathomir Witches, right? Yeah,
Night Sisters Fortress. Yeah,
and did we know that in Ahsoka and Mandalorian?
No, definitely not. Like that was not confirmed to me at least
Yeah.
that Morgan Elsbeth was a Dathomirian witch.
Yeah, I thought I was like, okay, maybe I missed that because it's been Mando seasons 2's been a minute, right? So I was like, okay, maybe I slept on that, but that's very cool. Like I said, I think the actress she's being very like hammy right now, which is fine. I feel like she's like very like she feels actually pulled out of Rebel. She feels like a cartoon character, but it being a Dathomirian witch, that's very exciting. I don't know what that's going to be. And that could be even more when they're kind of talking about her ties to Thrawn. Whether it's a relationship, I'm not saying they're getting on. I just mean that that's somebody, not only power, but a Dathomir witch for Thrawn to have on his side is not like a bad thing. You know, like that's another like powerful ally to have. If you have that, you have those two non-Jedis, great Jedis, whatever you want to call them. So that was a very
And you
cool...
have an Inquisitor. Like, he's got a stacked
Ezra.
roster.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't do anything. Which I'm happy. They didn't do anything to tip the cap that it would be Ezra, but it was, you know, I feel like the body type of the guy they showed playing Ezra and then the body type of the Inquisitor like looked similar enough.
No, Ezra's just, you see how jacked he is? His whole upper body. I know he's wearing armor up there, but that hologram, Ezra, fuck, he looks like he's lifting weights and gains at
But
the
the
gym all
Inquisitor is
day.
big too. He has
The
big
Inquisitor,
shoulders.
He was tall, but no, he didn't have big shoulders. He was pretty
No, the Ezra actor was tall too. I think the way that hologram was, we'll see. But I think that could be a good. We'll see. That's going to be more. We talked about that in the predictions, so you can go back. We'll just talk about what's in this episode. But so yeah, Dathomir witches, if you don't know, that's where Darth Maul's from. They have a lot of, you know, it's not the Force per se, like it's just magic, right? But does anyone count as like a dark sort of Force? I know it's not, but like
you're tapping into the Force, but you're doing like the sneaky stuff. It's like the equivalent of like, oh, you have like church and God, but then like you do like the satanic symbol and like the bones and shit.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And that's where I'm very. We'll get to the villains in a second. So that was interesting there. But she gets this, you know, Appleby and this whatever map, and that's to lead to where Thrawn is, because as we've seen in the trailers, she's been hearing whisperings that Thrawn's back. Everyone thought he was dead, and they think, okay, if that means Thrawn could be alive, that means Ezra could be alive. That's how they hook up with Sabine, and that's where again for me, I guess all this hook stuff is like stuff we've heard in the trailer, right? And it's okay, I need your help, but you know, there's tension there. Used to be Master and stuff. So, and we even I guess we saw in the trailer, but I guess I was not expecting Sabine to do the lightsaber fight in the very first episode. So I'm liking all this. I don't know. I'm very interested to learn a little bit more because I'm completely fine with Sabine being a Jedi. I said that in the predictions that I think that's a cool thing to, you know, we haven't had a Mandalorian Jedi in a while, except like we had talked about in Rebels. They don't really set that up. They train her in the ways of fighting with the Darksaber, but so does Bo-Katan and so does Din Djarin.
But we get that line from Kanan. It's like everyone has the Force. Just
I know, but I mean, like, well, who knows? It depends on George. If you don't have enough midichlorian counts, you can't unlock it. But what did you feel about Ahsoka and Sabine in these two episodes here? Obviously, there's some distance, and it sounds like we don't know the whole context yet, but it sounds like Ahsoka was training Sabine, but she's the one that chose to leave the situation, and you know, Sabine's kind of a little probably holds some ill will towards that. So what do you think about them in these two episodes?
I think that there's so much dilemma and drama there. Like I'm really into what's going on with that, because just to see Ahsoka in this imperfect situation that reminds me of like a reflection of her and Anakin, because the first time we see her introduced to Anakin's like, I need to get rid of you kind of thing. Like, and I'm like, it's very, very interesting how it's set up. Like she obviously, like, I want to see a scene of their initial like conversation, and Ahsoka basically being the one to ask, like, hey, I'll train you in the ways of the Force. Or was it Sabine? And this is like, hey, can you train me in the ways of the Force?
You made Ahsoka sound like the couple that walks over to the bar and says, do you want to party? You're like, hey, you want to train in the Force?
Well, I mean, that's what I got to know. Is she the one who pitched it first? Or was it Sabine at the bar that pitched it first? Who was the party that came forward and was like, hey, train me, or you want to be trained? So there's
because we haven't seen her do. I feel like they've insinuated that she hasn't used any Force though.
She hasn't. No.
Yeah.
That's how I take it. But I mean, you see in the trailer, and not much of a spoiler, but she puts her hand up and she's gonna use the Force in the show.
Yeah,
like you said,
that'll be a big moment. That could be like a finale moment, even too, right? That could be very kind of like. Hopefully, they don't do it exactly, but it could be very similar to Rey in Force Awakens, right, with the final battle, and she gets the lightsaber. I'm not saying just do the exact same scene with the Inquisitor, but something like that, where Ahsoka or team needs help, and boom, she does it. So, yeah, like I said, the standout for me, I've never seen this actress, Sabine. She's the one that looks the most like it's fucking crazy. Like, she just looks like the animated show sometimes, where Rosario Dawson looks like Rosario as Ahsoka. I don't care. Mary Winstead's contacts are still fucking shit. Her eyes are just so... I figured it out. When she's in the dark or when it's not completely very lit, it's fine. When she's in bright rooms, those eyes are fucking just piercing the soul, and not in a good way. But I really like her. And obviously they set up that, okay, they won this battle years ago, if you don't know, and she lost Ezra. Ezra, again, if you don't know, at times they pose them to be like romantically linked, and at times they pose them just to be good friends. I feel like they're I don't know, because she like
siblings now.
Are they siblings now?
That's what he said. I always I looked at you like a sister. That's what he says now.
Did he? I missed that.
Oh, he says it,
wow. Star Wars is back at it. It kind of makes sense, because I feel like near the end they did pull away from that. And I think it was for the...
Oh, okay, yeah, it was for the best. I'm sure Travis is saying there. He's just getting super excited. The relationships and siblings and all that, and it's just Star Wars just is they take care of that kind of stuff in their narratives.
Fucking Ahsoka siblings, my God. No, like at never any point is that anything I'm cheering for. I brought up that it happens in Star Wars. But anyways, I feel like that is for the best, because I don't know. I talked about Rebels. I didn't need them to be romantically linked, and I think we've said before, whether Ezra is bad or they find him, like, I don't think Ezra's going to have a good ending. So I feel like why even do the whole romance thing? She did Cress's face, the painting face. So I was like, oh, what's going on here? But I guess brother and sister. Okay, that's fine. And they show her to be like. I don't know. I didn't love the bike opening. It was fine. Like, the music was fine. I just thought that was a little cheesy. I guess that was maybe Rebels-ish, of like, she's supposed to go to ceremony. And they're like, where's Sabine? And they cut to her on the bike, and these like her fellow like cops or soldiers trying to pull her over, and she's being a badass. It's like, okay, I get it. It's fine. I will say that she looks 1,000% better with the long hair. I wish they kept that, because I think the short hair looks too wiggy. Like, it's definitely a wig, and it just looks like it's sitting on her head. So I wish they kept the long hair, but I guess you'll have the helmet on a few times, so that got that going on. But no, I really liked her. I like all the subtleties of the character. It felt like Sabine. It felt like exactly ripped from anime to live action. So I think that's the best you can do. And everyone else felt good too, but she was the one where it's like, okay, this is perfect. And I hope that, this character does get to go to the movie and we see more with it. So, and I did like their relationship, and I like, because really we have this back and forth. I don't think I'm wrong. Yeah, because we talked about like lightsabers and Jedis. I wouldn't count Obi-Wan and Anakin in the Kenobi show. We even got a show with a master and apprentice, right? And the good thing is, one, you talked about her mirroring Anakin. I think that's going to be the theme of the show, where she even talked about it, right? And that's where I think it's not like the greatest writing. It's very on the nose. But the theme of the show is going to be, she left the Jedi Order, she left Anakin, she left Sabine. It's going to be that she has to stop, really, she left the Rebels because she let Luke and all of them fight by themselves. She left all these people. But obviously that's going to be the overarching thing, that she has to stop leaving and like commit to one thing. Even if that means her committing to be a Jedi again, maybe that might happen. I don't know. But I think that's very good to have in this show, because you have them, but then you also have the villains who have a master and apprentice situation too, right? So in the first episode, it's called Master and Apprentice. It's much like Phantom Menace, where it's a double entendre of like, yeah, it could be Darth Maul or it could be Palpatine. The same way, which Master and Apprentice is that episode title referring to? So, and I think it's good where you see, hey, this is the light side. These people, I won't say they've been friends, but they've been acquaintances for years, versus, these dark side people who are using, I guess they haven't used anything really dark side yet. They dress as dark side, but we haven't seen any force lightning, no force chokes or stuff. So we'll see if that happens, but I think that'll be fun. And maybe what they'll do over time is the bad guys, Master and Apprentice, start to slowly split up, where the good guys get closer. We'll see if that happens. But I liked everything what was insinuated there, talked about, the whole conversation about, when do you think you're ready? You're ready when you're ready. Again, I like the sentiment. It could have some better, more deeper writing. These are just lines we've heard everywhere. But I like the idea of this pressure between the two of, hey, you left me and I was going to be a Jedi, but you kind of went and did your own thing. And I don't know if we'll get a flashback, but I hope we at least get why. We deserve to know why she didn't want to train her other than just Ahsoka leaves stuff. So is there anything more to say specifically on that relationship?
I think if we do get a flashback or something related to that, I think it'll also be tied with a Ahsoka Anakin flashback.
Could be, yeah. I think that would be the apt time. Again, Darth Vader shouldn't have a fucking Force Ghost, but he does. To me, that would be the apt time, too, to have Force Ghost Anakin talk to Ahsoka about having an apprentice, even though, he did a terrible job as well. She's great and all, but, like, he still let her down, then became Vader, so not the best. But, yeah, where do you want to go next?
I'd like to talk, I guess, now about that other opening sequence where we get the transport with Morgan Elsbeth and we get the two mercenary Jedi just kind of going at.
Well, they're not Jedi.
They're not Jedi, yeah.
Right? Because he says we're
Force
no
users.
Jedis.
Yeah, we're no Jedi. Mercenary Force users. I want to shout out Home 1 here. Very, very cool. We have not seen Home 1 since Return of the Jedi, so that was a very, very neat Easter egg because that's Admiral Akbar's capital ship. That's Admiral Akbar's capital ship.
Okay.
It's a trap. That's a ship from the Battle of Endor.
Yeah,
so
you're better on that stuff than me, so there you go. That's cool.
it's really neat to see. Yeah, the two of them when they approach the ship and they're like, "Yeah, we're Jedi." I like how they kind of strutted in there. And again, I can't remember the actor's name, but the captain of the ship who got killed at the beginning, he's from Aliens. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting? The James Cameron one where he plays one of the guys holding like the machine gun, like Lance or Vance or whatever his name was, and he was part of there was the girl with the red bandana. They both were holding the Gatling guns, and he ends up getting killed in the nest.
Okay, because I thought he was somebody else, but let me check here, because then I was confusing him. Yeah, is this the guy Mark Rolston?
I think that's it.
Is that the guy? Because he was in. Yeah, you're right. Aliens. Yeah, I know him. That's good. I kind of forgot about him in the Aliens. I know him. He's in The Departed. Then he's also in Saw 5 and 6. He's.
Is he really?
He's Hunting Hoffman. Yeah. Well, he has a stash in that one, and he always has an earpiece. It's lame, and Hoffman kills him big time. But yeah, go on. Anyways.
Their setup, I loved how 1 to 100 it was. They went in there and they were decimating. Again, the world building, like when you get to see the New Republic ships and stuff, you see all the different aliens and the different species all just interacting. It's very cool, very world building, and just Haiti just going ham, just decimating, and then getting the skulls like hallway scene was super cool. It's just really, really neat to get that. Like you were speaking to the Master and Apprentice component here, like we haven't really seen that since some of the prequel stuff, really. I mean, of course in A New Hope you get that, and you get it in like Empire Strikes Back. It's not the same. They're just like
neither in the
standing
sequels.
Off in the
They're not,
and like the young guy's the one fighting.
Yeah, and even same thing with the sequels. Like Leia and Luke are training Rey, but it's more like a rent a master, and they're not like they're her like she even calls Leia her master, but like it's not the same. It's not the exact same. It's more the Yoda dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. So to get them both engaging in this combat was very, very cool. Yeah, they're very interesting. And if I am correct, because like Haiti and Skull are wolf names, like Fenrir as well. So that's where like the kind of Norse mythology. So that's where their names kind of go hand in hand. Because you think about the Loth wolves. Dave Filoni's just got a big interest in wolves.
Oh yeah, he does. He's just, you go to his house, just wolves everywhere mounted. Yeah. Wolf skin, just like rug.
He's a taxidermist.
I love wolves. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Because obviously, again, I would like the wrinkle more that he wasn't from Order 66. I would like that mystery, but that's fine. I did like all the stuff with that robot. I forget his name. I wonder what happened to
Hu Yang,
who's voiced by David Tennant. I wonder what happened to what was our AP5. Wonder where he went between Rebels and the show. Oh,
well, we never saw. Well, he's probably still kicking around somewhere. But Hu Yang, Hu Yang.
He's in a bunch of stuff.
He's in Clone Wars.
Okay,
we don't
yeah.
see him in anything after that because he's in that one arc where he's training the younglings to build their lightsabers.
I think he's in some like canon books and comics too. I think so as well. Did David Tennant voice him in the Clone Wars as well too?
Yes, he did.
That's cool. Okay.
Old Republic, High Republic. I think they have Huyang in the comics too in there, don't they?
There you go. Yeah, I think he's appeared a bunch of places. So I really like that where he is this, Jedi knowledgeable droid, and he scans the lightsabers and he knows, oh, well, that one's for that one. So again, I don't love it, but whatever. I'll accept it. Let's move on. So I like, okay, that's a guy that was training, disappeared in the Clone Wars, like many Jedi, and this one's unidentifiable. That makes sense because, okay, she's a new, Force user, whatever, like Force mercenary, like you said. So I'm interested. Same thing too. Like, I don't know if we would do this. That's why it's always the struggle with the 6 to 8 episodes, and hopefully we get more. That's why I think 10 can be a great spot. I would love it if we just got one episode of just those two and how they met and everything. I would love it if we just got a full, why are these two together? And maybe they'll tell us that through dialogue, and hopefully they do. Hopefully it's not just, oh yeah, they're a thing, but I find it interesting. There's no, like you said, there's really no Sith traits right now other than being bad guys. There's no tension there. She listens to him like apprentice would. I find it very fascinating. I never caught this in any of the marketing. I found this very fascinating that she has like the Padawan,
the braid,
the braid, and that to me that's what's curious about them is, okay, if they're not Jedi, but that is like a Jedi, that's a Jedi tradition, right? Your Padawan has a braid, right? So that's where I'm like, okay, where are they on the line? How is he teaching her? Is it the classic gray Jedi? Whatever it may be. So that's why I hope we get to learn more about them. I hope they're not just obstacles for Ahsoka and the crew to fight and cut down, because we've seen that with Disney Plus. I feel like we got that like with Moon Knight, right? When we got Ethan Hawke, we're like, oh, this could be a really interesting character, and we never learned too much more about him. I hope that with this character, and same thing with the villains right now. Who have we had in Kenobi? We had Reva, who we learned too much about, and Vader, which Vader was the right amount. Mando, I feel like he's been in a lot, but we still don't know much about Moff Gideon. So I feel like we could have learned a lot more about him. I know people hated it, but that episode in Andor with the cloning doctor, it was the cloning guy, right? Yeah. And it was the traitor person. No, was it the cloning guy? No, I'm wrong about that.
The traitor, who's pretending to be like a formatted like Imperial in the New Republic. And the cloning guy was like, oh, let's finish your work, cloning guy, and all that kind of stuff.
That was an Andor. That was Mando 3, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you said Andor? Yeah, that was Mando.
I screwed that up. I was like, how was he there? But see, I would like that with these two. I know that episode was very mixed, but I hope we get to learn more about them, because I feel that is a very interesting thing. Why, if they're not Jedi, why are they using Jedi traits? What does the orange kind of represent to them? And maybe they won't, because I feel like that's more of a Knights of the Old Republic thing, and that era of the lightsabers and the colors really specifically meant a lot of stuff, where it's like, I just got a blue one, I just got a green one. I want to learn more, and I'm interested of why they're with Thrawn, because they're mercenaries, but at the same time,
they
it doesn't
power, right? That was I think we're bleeding into the next episode, but they say power.
That's fine. We have to. Yeah, and I guess so, but I want more than just power. And that's where I could worry that they could just become generic and bad, and we'll see what happens. Like, why are they, if they're just mercenaries, why are they opposed to the New Republic? Because even in the New Republic, I'm sure there's going to be bounty hunters and hitmen and crime. So it's not like you can't do that. I guess maybe it's so they can run more freely. So that's where I like the setup so far. I love Ray Stevenson. I'm happy they shout him out. Loved him as I did love him as Punisher, and I loved him in Dexter. One of my favorite villains there. He did a good job, and I think both of them she does a good job at portraying a younger, unexperienced Jedi. I'm just gonna call them Jedi for now, and he is a good master type. I like them both. So, and I'm very curious again too with the Inquisitor, whether it's Ezra or whatever it may be. Why is this Inquisitor with them? In the past, we knew Inquisitors were okay. The Empire, the Emperor, Vader. They have them at their disposal, right? Mm-hmm. Is this this Inquisitor seems like it's more with them instead of Morgan, or am I misreading that wrong? If you were to ask who does that Inquisitor report to, who is it?
Oh, it's Baylan. It honestly feels like Baylan's completing his training or something like that, just with the way that he reports. And Balin's like, "Oh, don't worry, like Marok will be able to do this, or Marok will to get it done, or something like that."
So, and that's what's interesting because he's kind of, that's not that he's a Sith, but that's more old school Sith if you were to go that route. Because before, God, what's his name? Who's the guy that's Sith Bond? Yeah, Bane. Before him, there is Sith, like a lot of fucking apprentices, right? And there's just like a bunch of Siths together. So I'm not saying it's that, but maybe this is like an amalgamation of the two. And this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that Filoni and crew thought about this. My worry is that they're just bad guys, and they're just a bad guy Jedi. And we'll see, and that'll be a hold up for me at the end. But I like to set up the Inquisitor. We'll see where that kind of goes. But like I said, I think we were the same thing with Reva too, where we liked some of the setup, but it was like, okay, let's see the execution. And for me, the execution was done very poorly. Different team, of course, but I'm just saying I'm not. I'm sold on the concept. Now I got to be sold on the story. So,
yeah, that's fair. I think he hasn't said anything yet in the show, and he's been like the Inquisitor. He's been very silent.
Which that points to the Ezra theory, though. If we go if we go 3 more episodes and he's not talking, like I think this guy is definitely Ezra. Because why wouldn't he talk?
I would not be surprised if it's like a Seer's apprentice thing where you get the reveal where the Inquisitor, like second sister, takes her helmet off and it's Seer's former apprentice, and it's Ezra. I would not be surprised if it is similar and parallel to that route where Ahsoka is like fighting him and then takes off his mask and whatnot, because you get later shown in trailers where you have Haiti fighting Sabine on some planet, and then the opposite of them you have Ahsoka fighting Marek again. And I'm really wondering how this is going to pan out if Baylan gets killed by Ahsoka and then it's Marek versus Ahsoka, because I feel like what we saw in like episode 2, their fight's definitely not done. There was tension there. It was very interesting. But yeah, he's a very intriguing character. And what his motives are definitely are not made clear yet, because
power.
Power, to see him just following along, like maybe he doesn't, what happens to the Inquisitors after the fall of the Empire? Like what really would happen to them? I mean, most of them were killed by that time. Like Maul at least took out like 20 of them, I'd say. I'm exaggerating, but
yeah, and that's where it was interesting. And I will say we learned about this at least with Thrawn was he's not calling the shots. It's not like, because I thought, okay, you might have the good guys are looking for Thrawn. Thrawn's hidden away somewhere sending plans to these people, right? The Inquisitor, the Witch Sister, the 2 Jedis, 2 Sith Jedis, whatever. You could believe that, okay, Thrawn is out there somewhere giving them instructions. You do this, calling the shots from far beyond, right? But he's not, because even the antagonists are looking for Thrawn. And that makes me also really curious then, what the fuck is Thrawn up to? If he's not the one calling the shots and they're trying to find him, why do they care? And I don't mean this in a critique way. I mean, why, if she has this, like, and it looks like she's working on some sort of weapon, right? So some sort of new Death Star. It's like a ring, and they're building. I don't say it's a Death Star, but it looked like a weapon.
The Eye
right?
of Sion or whatever it's called, right? Like, does that have any like meaning to you with Old Republic stuff? Because it went over my head.
No, but again, it looks similar to like I'll try to bring it up. I feel like there is some sort of ship that is like a Death Star like weapon in Knights of the Republic, where it is like a big laser, and that's what happens in Star Wars. So they're building that. But this is my question of, okay, she's a Dathomir witch, she has these 2 Jedi, she has an Inquisitor, and she's building this fucking fleet thing, whatever it might be, the ship Star Destroyer, right? Why does she need Thrawn? What does Thrawn have for them that would do their gain? Now, the unfortunate thing is, I think it would be really cool if they find Thrawn and he has this fucking huge ass army and he's ready to go, ready to invade. Unfortunately, that just sounds like Palpatine in episode 9 when he had like his fucking like the people hiding under Exegol, like, here we go. So that's the only issue I have there, if it's not as cool now because we just got it. But I'm very curious of, like, if Thrawn, I'll let you say what you looked up there because maybe you found something. So what did you find anything?
Well, I didn't connect the name at all. This is okay. This is kind of cool. Now I'm gonna pull this up here because it's called the Eye of Sion, right? And then when you look at who Darth Sion was, Knights of the Republic 2, former Sith Lord,
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
one of my
look at that
favorites.
one eye that's focused there. Like maybe is this just like like what's with the one eye? They call the ship the one, like the Eye of Sion. So this is obviously a great reference or nod to this guy. But then why would they be building something like that? I don't think they're worshiping Darth Sion. So
No, but like they just do that, right? How there was like the Revan fleet and stuff. They could be just passing down information. So
that's true. Yeah. My initial thought when they were talking about that was, hey, we've got we're repurposing stuff for New Republic ships, and basically they're like, yeah, this was going to be used for a component for an SSD, a Super Star Destroyer. We're thinking, holy shit, that is a huge piece of hardware. And you're right, some kind of weapon. The Eye of Sion, I was thinking maybe that was going to be Starkiller Base because you could see the ring that they were constructing. It looked like it. Or is this going to be part of their First Order Star Destroyers or something like that? I the whole concept alone of them just building things under the Republic's nose and just shipping it out, I feel like that's a very real thing. And it's crazy, and I love that when you see that represented like other movies too, because even that was with Shield, like, oh, we're building the helicarriers in Winter Soldier, and the helicarriers are actually for Hydra's purpose. So it's a cool kind of concept to be included in stuff, and with it being in Star Wars now, I think that's really neat, and I like that, like they're just getting these looks as Hera and Ahsoka are going through the whole compound of Krella. Shoutouts to Krella. We saw it in Solo last, and now we get to see it again here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just the looks they're getting. And when they're in the office, that one guy just like, long live the Empire. He just whips his gun out and starts shooting him. It's like, holy shit. And not just him, but all of the technicians are like, yeah, we can't call it back. Nope, sorry, General. And then, yeah, they just pull their guns out and try to execute them. Like, holy shit. Oh, my gosh.
yeah, no, I was just trying to read how Terrace, that was that planet it was destroyed. Legends devastation question was orbital bombardment terraced by Sith Empire. Okay, so no, it just looks like it was a bunch of shit. I thought there was some sort of weapon name, but I could be wrong there. Have you guys seen the Jar Jar Binks Sith, the Lord Plagueis videos? Yes, of course. We've talked about this many times over the years, Jeff. But yeah, who knows? Maybe that's the Inquisitor, right? Maybe he's hiding in that mask. But yeah, I really like that. I love the putting together. Okay, the how many droids you have here. Oh, there was one droid. He went past the clearance. I was curious why Hera at first couldn't get clearance. So I like that. I like that guy, yeah, pulling out the gun, death to the Empire. So I think that was a good scene there. I like the fight scene enough. I agree with the complaints people have had this week when the clip came out that there is a lot of gray in the show, and I wish there was a bit more color. Like when like Ahsoka was fighting those two there with the Inquisitor, it is just a lot of gray on gray. It's not a good looking set, and it's a lot of just CGI and stuff. But like I said, I have a Thrawn question for Taylor after this next ad break. And we're back. So I didn't ask it because of we were looking up ships and stuff in Scion. Why do you think they want Thrawn? Because like I said, we got at least revealed. We didn't know from the trailers, but we got, okay, yeah, hashtag Thrawn Watch 2023. Thrawn did not come tonight. Thrawn has not come many nights. He's a pent-up, frustrated boy, but Thrawn will come at some point. He didn't come in these 2 episodes, but I promise you, well, hopefully, the trailer says he's coming, but so hashtag Thrawn Watch 2023. Let us know in the comments below when you think Thrawn's going to come. But anyways, why do you think they want Thrawn? Because like I said, I think I was under the impression that, okay, a lot of these people would be working with Thrawn from the outside. They're not. They have no idea that what he's up to. They have no idea. Maybe he's just sent them some message of like, hey, find me. But like, why? They seem to be handling things pretty well. So do you think that's something that they don't even know and we're just going to like, they just want to find Thrawn? Do you think that's going to be something revealed? Because like I said, I guess more the merrier, right? But there would be it sounds like it's a pretty risky situation to try and get Thrawn back. So why go to all this trouble if you're creating a new weapon? You got some 3 evil Jedis. Like, she could just start becoming the new heir to the Empire. Why do you think? Like, what is the importance of Thrawn in this series?
Oh, the importance of Thrawn is, I dare say, his rank. I mean, he's the last Grand Admiral, and the Grand Admirals were like the be all end all, like underneath Palpatine. They were the military leaders of the fleet next to Vader,
But
right?
I don't think she's like Empire per se. If she's a Dathomir witch, she might have been
No,
working
and
with them, but she's
that's
not like Empire.
that's where her loyalties surpass the Empire, and her loyalties are to Thrawn, and I like that because I feel like with Thrawn, his connections go beyond the Empire and that way. Like look at in Rebels, like his connections, like in the Nogri Rook. Rook is not an Imperial soldier that you think would be in there, but no, like his loyalties isn't even necessarily the Empire. His loyalties are powerfully strong to Thrawn. So that's where you have these other characters like a Dathomirian Night Sister tied in with Thrawn and all these other characters. So I think it's very fitting to have that strong relationship. And so her motives to find Thrawn are obviously exploiting Imperial means that are still very, very reliable, apparently, at this point in time, to find him. And whatever contingency, maybe he had a contingency set up ahead of time that we'll learn about or something like that. Yeah, the Empires love contingency plans. It remains to be
Palpatine's
seen.
working on right now, right? Remember,
He's working on it
getting
right
close.
now, yeah.
He's working on all Snoke's things as we're talking. You know.
He is, yeah. So them finding him, I think it's just to maybe not so much as like praise the Empire, but essentially like bring back a new age of the Empire that can really dominate. Because again, if Thrawn did not get sucked away at the Battle of Lothal, he would have. I mean, they would have won the Battle of Endor for sure. So
Yeah, of Endor.
Battle of Endor, yeah, they would have won it.
No, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, Thrawn would have been out there commanding the fleet. Oh, they would have easily had that.
No, I don't think so. I think that Thrawn's like, unfortunately, in like this sphere, the way they've because that's the thing. If the sequel trilogy didn't happen, that could be a case. But Thrawn's just like a blip on their radar. Thrawn's like nothing big that really happens. He doesn't because when in Force Awakens, they're like, we had peace for 20 years. So that means Thrawn comes back for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. Like, well, we beat him. Like that's where retroactively maybe they should have done some of that era of the Empire for the movies, and you could still use Kylo and all that stuff instead of Snoke. Like imagine you get a Thrawn like Snoke or Thrawn Kylo connection. Like that's where retroactively, like when they're setting this stuff, I'm like, oh, this sounds all cool, but like even I feel like Thrawn would have just shown up and like like I know I'm a Luke stan, but fucking Luke is killing all these fucking people. Like Return of the Jedi Luke is like height of his powers. I guess some people say Last Jedi because he does the whole vision thing, but it's like I think if Luke and his friends are taking down Vader and Palpatine and all this stuff, Thrawn doesn't stand a chance there.
Thrawn
You know,
he just cracks open his Alzamar.
his-
I can never pronounce his lizards, his force repelling lizards.
Oh,
Luke doesn't
yeah.
have to stand a chance.
Thrawn would rip off his cufflinks and go fight with his like jacked arms and stuff. No, you if he was there, you'd get a cutscene of Han Solo just kicking the shit out of Thrawn. You know,
No,
he'd stand no
no.
chance. Oh, in this Rebels, yeah, because
Han
Rebels
just does like one like long punch and then runs and stuff like that. He's not doing like flips and fighting Dark Trooper.
No,
droids.
but Thrawn or Han has the Jack Sparrow effect. He has the fucking whatever that luck factor is on a character chart. That's like max 10. So Thrawn's gonna be like running after him, and Thrawn will like trip on like a robot leg, and Han will be like,
Probably.
and then Han shoots him, and then Han's the hero. But yeah, we'll see. I'm very interested to. Because one thing I feel like they've still not done with these characters is she's a general, but they're very off to the side still. They don't. I'm still like, even when Ahsoka was talking, I'm like, oh, because they're talking about Jedi and how few there are of them. I'm like, oh, she's gonna mention Luke here. She's gonna say something. She's gonna say Grogu. But no, it's still like, yeah, there's not really any Jedi left. It's like, okay. So I'm very curious, and I'm not saying Luke has to be in the show, but it, like I've always said before, the problem with the Rebels and the Ghost Crew is they don't feel like they actually matter, you know, because they don't interact with any of the main characters. So I would love them to start being like, yeah, I talked, and again, they did that in Leia was in Rebels, but just something more live action to really put in that. Like, okay, these people like Rex, he was at the Battle of Endor. Hera was like, where was Hera during the Battle of Endor? Like, was she in the sky? Like,
she
where
was there. They
Right.
they said in Rebels like both her and Rex fought in the Battle of Endor.
So I would just start to like that stuff happen live action more, you know, more established. Even if she says, I talk with Leia, talk with Mom, and luckily we have Mom Mothma in the show, right? At some point.
Yep.
So I hope we get more of that, because in these two episodes, it's like I find it odd, and I could be wrong, but the fact that they're talking about like Ahsoka has met Luke and Thrawn, who she is referring to, man, this is a big threat that could come back and cause another war. I find it very peculiar. You would not talk to Luke. That would not go to Leia. That would not go to Han. It makes very little sense to me. So that is my problem always with this. That still feels so secluded. Maybe if we do this movie, and this is why I wish we got, in the long run, just actors like a new Luke Skywalker actor, so you could bring him in here and you could have him be like, yeah, let's go take down Thrawn, and that would feel bigger. Like, fuck, you know.
I don't think that Luke would go for that, and I think that's the biggest thing that stands out for Luke is because
Luke,
like you have the Jedi. Like what was their biggest fault in the Clone Wars? Because they went to rush to war, and that's exactly what sealed their fate for them. And if you have Luke just like being reached out like, oh yeah, let's go fight the fight and let's go to war, they're right back at square one, and they're gonna get screwed over because they're not military like fighters. They just, you know, there's like a tribe, a village that's having a dispute. They go there and it's just like, let's all be peaceful, and that's it.
That's wrong. I think that's wrong with Luke, though, because that's all he was. Even in Return of the Jedi, when he's a master, he's still a soldier on the front lines. He's still, before he ended up staying back, he was going to go to fucking Endor, remember? He was going to be on the ground with them at the base fighting until he said, oh, I sense Vader. This is going to compromise the mission. So he was still ready. So that's the difference with Luke. He's still like of that almost Kanan-like thing, and even his dad, where he's a soldier by proxy. He has to be a soldier. Now they've won, but even if Luke doesn't go, I find it odd that maybe I'll withhold judgment. I want to see what happens when Mon Mothma gets introduced. Maybe let's return back to that when Mon Mothma, because I just feel like if Leia and company were like, oh, cool, and then they just kept going, you're like, even when we read the Princess and Scoundrel, when there was like a Hin Empire base on their honeymoon, they're like, we're all over this. Like, we got to fucking shut this down. So, especially Leia. So that's why I really hope that they enforce that the characters that we know and love from the OG trilogy at least have some knowledge, even if you say, hey, they're taking care of other stuff. So like I said, I'll withhold my judgment till Mon Mothma comes in, because it would be a threat that they would want to talk about, right? Because you would, like you saying, oh, Thrawn was on Endor, it would have been a lot different. Then if he's that powerful of a character, then Leia, I think Han, Luke, and all that company would be like, yeah, fuck, we can't just like let Ahsoka and Chopper handle it.
Yeah, but we know deniability, right? Like the New Republic is like they're stupid, and we see
not
that
yet,
evidently
though.
running. No, very much yet. We see that in Mandalorian season 3. We see how they're just like dismissing things and like, oh no, we're just bringing over Imperials. It's all about money. They don't care about loyalty. It's just as long as they get paid, and like they're doing everything wrong about their whole like transition. And I think that's just one of the themes of Star Wars, because even then we learn about that in Star Wars Last Jedi. There's lots of money involved with it. They're building ships for both sides, and it's just profits and investors and everything. So greed, as Ahsoka says it in this episode as well. So there's a lot of that. You mentioned Kanan briefly in your statement there. Now, Kanan made a point too, and I think obviously the battle changed him, just like the battle changed the Jedi in the Clone Wars. But he made a point of saying when Hera wanted to get into the fight, he was very reluctant on it. Like, I've seen what One War did to the Jedi.
He still got in on it, though.
I don't want to be getting into another one here. And he got into it, but that's strongly because of his emotional attachment to Hera pulling him into this conflict. And so I think, yes, like Luke is definitely, I can't dismiss that he's an example of being the one to go into Endor front lines, everything like that. But
and he's attached to Ahsoka. I know that we've only seen it once, but I would say there's going to be, if we get more of that, or there should be an emotional connection. That's the only person alive that's ever had a relationship with his father. There's no way there's not some emotion attached to that, right? And Luke is a very emotional character. So I feel like Ahsoka could pull the Anakin heartstrings and get him to come aboard, you know?
It's possible, but yeah, I think it's just for the most part, like, yeah, he wouldn't want to get involved in the war. I think that would escalate too much. Now, maybe you change it up and you have him come aboard before it gets to war, but like, hey, we need your help to deal with like some dark side users or something.
Yeah.
And I think that would be up his alley. But then, like,
because Thrawn doesn't lead to war. In the canon that we've been presented, everything's good until the First Order shows up, right? And the flip happens. So it sounds like whatever war that Thrawn tries to start, it doesn't really go too far. So that's where Luke could shut it down. And again, I hope that they just fucking use that actor that is Mark Hamill's double if they do the movie. Like, I'm fine if they
Sebastian
wanted.
Stan.
Well, oh yeah, or that. Like, I'm just like, again, I know Alden Ehrenreich didn't pan out, but just like, I'm fine if they do that in the movie. I know some people won't be, but
What I am curious about now is when you bring in Thrawn and you're talking about this whole war thing, and it's like obviously it doesn't matter because you get to years, like 30 years down the road with the First Order and all that stuff, and you're totally right. So how long is this going to go? You're going to do this one season of Ahsoka, you're going to have a couple other Star Wars shows building up to this climactic thing, and then you have the movie kind of cashing in on that finale. Like, I really get curious to know, like, okay, then what is the end game here? Because if you have like 30 years you're playing with, I'd say you need at least like 20 years of like minimum 20 years of just kind of like free and peacetime, where the New Republic is just like chilled out and then the First Order arises. So like, what are you going to capitalize on? Is Thrawn going to like appear and maybe they don't go into all out war? Maybe in the movie Thrawn gets into a situation where they kill him off and whatnot, but his work is done and they're going to just use that heavy transition into the First Order. I think that's kind of the finale that you're going to get, and you're going to see it kind of segue. And if there's anything that they've done so far that I can appreciate is with Mandalorian and with a couple other things that they've been doing with Star Wars is they're trying to tie in the sequel trilogy, as loose and shaky as it is from the previous stuff. Exactly. They're trying to fix it. So I think that you could see an Heir to the Empire finale of that film kind of really being hey, go watch Force Awakens next, because now that's kind of like the spiritual successor to this.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of like Rogue One in a sense, because I feel like I know we've talked about this before, and I know the timeline is okay. Snow corrupts, Ben, and then they kill all those Jedi. Luke goes into hiding. Leia gets those things planted about Vader, which I don't like that that they don't cover that in the movies. But like, what is that? How is the official? Did they answer this, or is this still? It's still my complaints of the movie they didn't. Like, how does the First Order just get back in power again? Don't they just show big fleets or something like that?
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's like it's a military. It's a military occupation, basically.
It's just I don't understand how and I know that's what you said. They're trying to do that, where they're trying to show that okay, there were still Empire First Order people in the rebellion in the new Empire, but it's just in the movie when you think about it, you're like, oh, they showed up with big ships and they won. And
that's another thing that's credited to Thrawn as well, because at least in the novels, Thrawn had extensive knowledge on the outer regions. And so the First Order was able to access those hyperspace lanes and just stick to those places that the New Republic wasn't able to go to. So they hid, exactly. So they were able to come in, which leads me to the star map that popped up. We get to see a galaxy outside of this galaxy, which to my knowledge, we've only ever been in the Star Wars galaxy with our whole array of systems and planets and everything like that. So to see a galaxy outside of the Star Wars galaxy is very, very cool. And now this is obviously where the Purrgil just hyperspaced off into another galaxy. So very, very unique twist on that.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm very curious when we do get the Thrawn. I hope it's like a them going to Thrawn and not a Thrawn coming to them, because they always talk about the unknown regions in these Star ones, and we don't see them that much. So I hope we go out there. So it'll be interesting what they do there with the bigger Republic and the new Empire. So we talked about them. Hera, like I said, I think was a good introduction to her character. I think Winstead's doing a good job. I hope they give her a little bit more, but I liked all the stuff there. I think there wasn't too much comedy in this show, but the times it hit. I liked all that. Like I said, I don't think they've given Hera a direct. She's kind of just I won't say exposition machine, but she's kind of like, well, you should team up with Sabine. Sabine, you should do this. Like, she's the guide right now, so I hope they give her a little agency. And like you said, we don't know what the case is. Are we getting another Ahsoka before the movie? Is it just the movie, then Ahsoka's done? I don't know. I don't know how far this movie's off, and I don't even know if they do the movie. Is it like, oh, we did the movie, but we could still do more episodes? I don't know. So I liked Hera, but I think I need a little bit more from her. Trying to think if there's anything more character-wise, like any characters we haven't talked about, any big moments. Is there anything for you?
Well, I think Ahsoka, there's nothing overly wonderful and nothing terrible. I think she Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a fantastic job playing that character, but I think the character itself just was there to fit that narrative between Ahsoka and Sabine and just trying to expedite us ahead a little bit when we got to Corellia. So I thought she was pretty cool, and again we got to see Chopper pop in there too, which was a lot of fun. I appreciate the practicality of effects that were in here, like the Loth Cat, and again, like even Chopper looked pretty practical too, and Hu Yang as well looked absolutely wonderful, being a practical effect droid. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I was gonna mention, oh, what was it? With the star map and with Thrawn and
The other galaxy.
the other galaxy. No. Shoot. Oh, I cannot remember it.
Thrawn, the two Siths, Anakin, Luke,
No. It's something to do with
Jocasta Nu.
yeah, Jocasta. It's something to do with I think the planet. Yes. So Balin asks Morgan Elsbeth about like this is not Jedi when they're at that other sort of temple that had the star map appear, and she says it's a very ancient. And I'm not sure if she meant it was Dathomirian as well, because she made it sound like it was actually something ancient and something from outside of the galaxy, which I thought was pretty cool. If you remember her saying that dialogue.
I do. I just didn't know if she was just saying if she was referring to Dathomir again. I didn't know if she was being like if that was just her kind of propping themselves up. So I wasn't sure. I was just more curious in that scene when they were really just waiting for her, and it felt again they're mercenaries, but I feel like they are very like they're listening to her a lot, like almost in like a that she is the leader of them. So I don't know what that is, but yeah, I wasn't sure if it'd be anything else. It'd be great if it was some Sith. Old Sith stuff, because even though all those trees were red, but I took that it could just easily mean Dathomir, right? And she's just saying that again, so
Yeah.
only time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, I'm bummed about Thrawn. I was sitting on the couch the whole time, like, just give me Thrawn. But here we are. Like, I thought for sure, like in our predictions, I said like probably end of episode 2, and
Yeah.
nothing. So now I am worried we're gonna not see him until like the very end of the season.
Yeah, and that's my only hand of why I just don't love it as much, because the good thing is we have 8 episodes, so I don't think we'll get the very end, because if we had 6, I would already episode 2 being like I'm worried about the finale. But I thought by time like Sabine cutting her hair, everything, I thought that would have been the end of episode 1. I thought most of the trailer setup stuff, because episode 2 has some action and some progression, but I feel like episode 1 episode 2 are a lot of setup, a lot of okay, this is where we're going, what we're doing, who we got to find, all the players on the chessboard. I thought by episode 1 that would primarily be done, but it really wasn't, because Sabine got stabbed, and Clay saying Patreon Clay saying how'd Qui-Gon die, and she didn't. Well, again, I'm saying she's young and she was medevaced right away. Clay, that's my sentiment there, but I do get it. It's a funny thing, but Qui-Gon he's ready to go, man. But
he got a gut shot. Like hers was like off to the side a little bit. No major organs.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I thought we'd be a bit more. So hopefully next week some hot and heavy. So I'm not saying it has to not be just action. I'm just saying just even more developments to find out what's going on. But yeah, I think that's everything I have to say until next week. Anything else?
Just in closing for me, that intro title card, like the score that kicked in, it just felt dark. It felt sinister, and it's been so long since I've had like an opening crawl.
2019.
And like I loved how different it felt. It felt like
you liked
it's
that,
not,
eh?
I liked it actually.
I was
quite a
iffy
bit.
about it. I just felt like the way it was. I didn't mind the red font. I didn't mind the font per se. I just felt like the way it was. Like in the center and then to the left, it just felt like a weird movie maker sort of thing, but I didn't mind it. I still think, even if you don't, honestly, I'm still in the camp. I agree with people. I don't, I know Kathleen Kennedy says, just a Star Wars movie should have the crawl. I think I'm in the camp where I disagree. I understood the idea, and maybe I was for it when we got it originally, but now after all these years, when we had video games and books that had the crawl, I'd be fine if every show had the crawl and start with the Star Wars theme. Why not? It's one of the most fucking iconic themes of all time. But I think this crawl is also needed for this, like, it helps because there is a lot of exposition and a lot of setup and in the show and the crawl. So the idea of the crawl is good. I'm a little 50-50 on how it looks, but it doesn't matter because it's it's going to only be for one episode. So
Well, and that's totally fair. Like the moment you get that crawl, and the moment like the score kicks in and just the narrative picks up, it's like, okay, this feels to me different than what
Yeah,
we've
it does,
gotten
yeah.
with all the other shows so far with Star Wars live action. So I really appreciate that. Even the end credits, like I'm not hitting skip right away. Like I'm just
No,
like
I agree,
the
yeah.
Ahsoka theme kicks. It's like, oh, this theme is so good,
Yeah.
and just the way like the star map is just going from like star system to star. It's just so beautiful. So
Hey, don't discredit the Mando end credits. Those are always good with the concept art and stuff. The Mando end credits. Yeah, that theme always.
Yeah,
slaps
that
and
is
stuff.
pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kenobi, I couldn't even like you put a gun to my head and tell me like say what were the Kenobi end
I can't
credits.
tell you.
I can't even picture them right now at the Kenobi. I'd be like, shoot me, like I have no idea. So. Yeah, that's it. So obviously, whether it's for a newscast or next review, send us some questions about your thoughts, reviews, any questions about the show, anything going forward. And yeah, that's the plan right now. Is most of the time after the episodes end, we'll be live right after. So let us know what you thought about it. We'll be back next week for Ahsoka episode 3, and I promise you will not be boring. May the Force be with you.
Always.